We may only be in Barcelona for a short time, but we're always looking for clues about what real life here could be like. Could we stay here longer, or is a few days enough?
Yeah, when people think Barcelona, they think of Gaudi and the beach. I'm Scott,
And I'm Liza.
and we're talking about everyday costs. Like, what does it take to go to the grocery store, your coffee shop, even a walk through the park, and maybe the occasional acai bowl?
Because for us, it's not about seeing Barcelona, it's about figuring out if we could live here. We stayed at the Hotel Indigo in Plaza Catalunya, and we chose it because it was basically centered for arrival by train and departure by port. That worked out. Those logistics were fine. But what we sort of had to figure out was how would staying in city center and not having a kitchen because we're in a hotel room satisfy our need to figure out what it would be like to stay here longer.
We had been here before, 13 years ago, but we were a party of 6 back then. And we were here to just see all the big things of Barcelona. So you have Gaudi, the big, huge beach, and the Mercado. So this time we really wanted to figure out where could we stay for a longer period of time. And what the city did when we were here without a itinerary, except for maybe 2 things that we really wanted to go see. It was surprising to see how the city just kind of opens up for you when you're here without an agenda.
We did go see the Sagrada Familia, and it was beautiful. We were sort of curious as to, 13 years have passed, what's changed?
Was it even done yet?
And so that was fun, and I'm glad that we did that. But most of the time, we spent our time walking around and
just exploring everywhere we could. I think we tried to just get lost, but you can't because the city's laid out like a perfect grid everywhere. So everywhere you went, you just basically like, all right, let's go back in our square mode and we make it home.
We also looked up to see in these different neighborhoods when we would see one that we were like, oh, this is sort of a nice vibe.
Right.
We would look it up, and Barcelona's gotten pretty expensive, or maybe it was always expensive and I just don't remember 13 years ago. But
well, the last time we were right across the street from the Basilica, so it was perfect, right?
Yeah,
it was all about location last time.
It was our first time in Europe and our first cruise, so we were splurging for sure. But now it's like $2,200 to $3,200 a month for a short-term rental, and that $2,200 is on the side of probably not having a kitchen, and
Right.
you definitely need a kitchen.
Or at least you want a good kitchen.
So considering the high cost of Barcelona, it's something that really needs to be thought through when committing to coming back for a longer term.
Yeah, I love it here. The food, the culture, the architecture is absolutely amazing. I would come back to stay a month, maybe even 2.
Or 3.
Oh, we'll see what happens. You could really get to like this place. There's so much to do.
I would like to stay 20 minutes outside of the city, though, to experience a different atmosphere, a different living like a local type.
They have a really good train system. I'd just take that L line and probably get us into the city 15, 20 minutes. I'd do that every day.
I agree. We should. So the location of the hotel, perfect for what we needed. But they put us in a room that was damp, dark, and it was poolside. So you feel like it's somewhat of an upgrade, but it really wasn't. And we convinced ourselves to call the front desk and tell them they needed to move us.
I mean, we thought we were getting for our IHG points a really good deal, and that it was going to be awesome with the pool view. And what turned out to be is
the pool had closed like the day before. There was a sign up. Not that we were planning to go swimming, but
it was perfect timing.
We decided, all right, why don't we it was late. Let's just stick it out. Let's just stay here. But when we saw the scaffolding go up right outside our room window, the next morning, we saw
the guys were out there working on something, and we were like, hey,
we're not doing this. So we called the front desk and had them move us. But, and they moved us to a way better room, which they should have put us in to begin with. And all that's great. And it was a balcony and a beautiful view, but we weren't really inside the hotel room all that much.
No.
We were really out exploring most of the time. And the room was pretty cool because it had the coffee machine.
Yeah, we love
Very
having
convenient.
our espresso coffee in the morning, so that way we're prepared to go out in the morning.
And so that was great.
I think we basically explored until we got hungry every single day. That's kind of like our go-to itinerary.
Yeah, we walk, and then somebody's hungry and we just stop and eat. And not always somewhere fancy or a sit down. It's more of what's nearby that we're in the mood for. And we did come across some really good places that are worth mentioning. We had a sandwich at a place called Beau de Bie, and it was like 21 euro, and we had patatas bravas, popular in Spain.
Everything's made to order there,
Yeah.
and they have like 1,000 toppings. So
I think you had like a meat kind of sandwich, and I had an egg sandwich. But yeah, it was really good. It was delicious, and it didn't cost much. And another time we walked into a place called Ulcer Cafe, and it was right by the hotel. And it was like breakfast for dinner, my fave. And you had chicken and waffles, and I had, I don't even remember right now. Oh, the carrot cake. They had this carrot cake. They were known for their cakes, actually. They had all these different varieties of cakes to choose from. And another time we went off and we found a pub. Scott got his Guinness, and that was fun.
I think we have a tradition of somehow always getting Italian food wherever we go. So
Our first night is usually Italian.
And so we stumbled across this place just down the street from the big fountain.
It was in Poble-sec neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we sat outside. What was the place called? El Presidente. Yeah, and that was delicious. So food was easy to come by, and it wasn't always so expensive that it was going to break us. But in a month, it definitely would have. We wouldn't have been able to afford to eat out every day for every meal. We were in a hotel. We didn't have a kitchen, and that was the situation. But for a month stay, not a hotel. The location of the hotel put us in the center of everything. You would just go outside and choose a direction and take it. It was just central to everything. Gothic Quarter, heading to the beach at Barceloneta.
Yeah. You could just walk forever. And then if you got super tired, we would just take the metro back home or to the hotel.
Yeah, and we purchased a T usual pass, which was 46 euro for both of us, which is about 54 US dollars. You can get a pass that has 10 tickets on it, but we didn't.
Yeah, I kind of felt like we might take the metro more than we think because everything's laid out pretty far from each other and we're not quite sure how tired we'd be. But we ended up walking everywhere. But I think having that peace of mind, we might have eaten a ride or two at that point, but for the price tag, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and being able to just get on and off without worrying that you weren't doing something right. That's always helpful.
Exactly.
Because I speak Spanish, and I still felt like I was in a place that had a language I didn't understand, because Catalan is spoken everywhere. The signs are in Catalan, and it's not Spanish. It's very different. And as hard as I tried, it wasn't. I probably understood French more than I understood the Catalan.
And I was just my usual lost self with any of these languages. So it was fine. I was par for the course, for sure.
Transportation, walking around, everything in Barcelona, that fits the bill. I think it's very accommodating to stay for longer than a week. For a shorter stay, being central is very convenient and makes a lot of sense. But when you're going to stay for longer than a week, you really have to think about wanting to step out into this busy city every day, or would you rather it be a little more residential?
So you have to consider, would you pay an extra price premium for that?
The transportation works, so you can get there no matter what. No matter how far out you go, it's probably really easy to get back.
Barcelona fills the day without any effort. Now, we didn't have any urgency to see anything. We had been there before, and we just wanted to see what the city could provide without any itinerary.
We were hoping to simply explore the neighborhoods and see where we might want to stay if we came back. And on our arrival, we came up from the metro right at Paseo de Gracia, and Casa Batlló was right there.
It was just like, welcome to Barcelona.
It was beautiful. It was lit up because it was nighttime. And even though we needed to go check into our hotel, we obviously stopped and took photographs and just took it in. It was pretty amazing. On another day, we headed out and we ended up going through the Gothic Quarter.
Yeah, that was a really cool walk that brings you all the way to Barceloneta.
Yeah, and it took us through El Born, and we grabbed coffee.
Yes. And then you can get yourself all the way to the boardwalk, and you can walk the whole boardwalk.
Yeah, and then turned off of the boardwalk and went through Ciutadella, and we watched the tram go by.
And there's like this gorgeous fountain, but
beautiful park.
It leads you all the way to the Arc de Triomphe, which then from there you know kind of where you are, and
we hung out there for a while.
Of course.
And then we stopped at that store on the corner to grab some water. And it just led us back to the hotel. And it was so easy without even planning.
Yeah, Barcelona's grid fashion of laying out their streets is perfect for, you can't get lost. You just walk in basically in a giant square and you make yourself back to where you started.
We planned Sagrada Familia because we wanted to see what had changed. And we also planned Park Güell because we had missed that our first time around 13 years ago and thought we should just check it off the list. But as we were like heading back, or we didn't even really know where we were going yet, we were trying to catch a bus and we were in Gràcia and we came across Casa Vicens.
Right. You don't even need to set yourself up with sightseeing things. You're going to just bump into gorgeous art wherever you are. It seems like in Barcelona.
I didn't even know it existed. That's Gaudi's.
It's his first major work that he did.
It was like a summer home that he built. We didn't even buy tickets. We just saw it from outside. It didn't have a fence. It didn't have anything to keep you from enjoying the house itself.
It's very obvious as soon as you walk down the street that you've stumbled across something special yet again.
Yeah. And we were just headed to the bus. I would say that Gràcia is the clearest version of a city that doesn't even have to do anything. You just, everywhere you walk is an adventure and you see something new and interesting. Plaza del Sol and Plaza de Virena, they were full of people and it was weekday. And they were just there. It didn't seem like there was an event or any purpose for them to just be there. It wasn't
people
lunchtime.
Just enjoying their neighborhood, you could tell.
And so we did that.
We tried to do the same thing.
So we just hung out and relaxed and just took it all in. It was really nice.
Yeah, between hot chocolates and coffees.
2 paid days and the rest of our week just came about on its own. Accommodations first. We definitely need to make sure that the accommodation has a kitchen, that is a comfortable bed, a good shower. You want to make sure that it's the feeling of being home if you're going to stay longer than a week.
If you're going to stay in a hotel, that's fine for a short stay, but you're going to go out for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and coffee all the time, and that's going to really rack up the expenses.
So even if we got the hotel on points, the cost of the food alone would still pass our monthly budget. If we consider the neighborhood, we could probably get more for our money on that accommodation. Not only that it would have a kitchen, but maybe it has open space, or it's convenient to multiple grocery stores or multiple restaurants for when we do want to go out. So the next thing we would focus on is the neighborhood. What neighborhood would we like? And while we were there, we really got, I liked Gràcia.
Right, and the Poble-sec?
And Poble-sec was okay too. It was nice over there. Right. It was the most residential.
I felt like, yeah, exactly. I felt like those were the local neighborhoods out of the touristic areas that were still super close and very accessible to the touristic places if you wanted to go back.
So those are definitely the 2 neighborhoods that we're considering.
Yeah, we'd pay an extra premium, I think. If it had a really good kitchen, those ones we'd pay maybe a little bit more to stay in. But TBD at this point.
We could also consider staying farther out because transportation in Barcelona is really good. And you could stay maybe 20, 25 minutes out and find another neighborhood and be even more local. As long as it had good grocery stores to choose from and restaurants nearby for those times that you do want to go out and eat, we would consider staying even farther out in a different neighborhood altogether. As long as maybe there was direct transit, maybe 20 minutes max outside of city center.
And you're going to be able to get in using that metro system in a heartbeat to anywhere you needed to be if you were going to spend some time outside of the city. So we've definitely come back for longer than a 7-night stay. We wouldn't do a hotel. I think that would be a little bit beyond our expenses, especially for a longer stay. Lyon taught us that staying for a longer period of time is a very repeatable, very inexpensive way to stay in a city that is favorable to your budget.
Yeah, and we formed a routine really quickly and it worked for us and we really enjoyed our time there. So we know that we can apply that same type of routine wherever we go.
Once you get your grocery stores and your walking route down, everything's going to fall into place in your new place. We're getting really comfortable in Barcelona. We love it here. The streets, the architecture. I'm getting really used to going to a cool coffee shop every day. I also love the
Finding a bench to sit on and have that coffee. It's really nice here. It's very relaxing. It can be bustling and busy, but we sort of like that. And then it just calms down and gets quiet.
so like we could see ourselves living here for a longer period of time.
Yeah, but can we afford to live here?
Right. In Barcelona, you don't even need to set yourself up to go sightseeing. You're going to bump into art no matter where you go. So if you're going to stay a little bit further out, it doesn't really matter. You're going to come into the city, you're going to go out of the city. It's gorgeous everywhere. And
I really enjoyed just walking in and exploring because you're still experiencing new things every day. And I think that made Barcelona worth considering coming back and why we are saying yes.
yeah, and I know we're going to pay that premium to stay here when we come back. And I hope it's for another transatlantic cruise because that would be really convenient because the first one worked out great. So would we pay that premium? Yes, I think we would definitely look into that. Pay a little bit more to stay in a city that's very usable, very favorable on your budget. And it's going to allow you to get to that next destination that you want to get to.
Yeah, and I think that it's if the accommodation's high, then you cook in more often. You just make up for where the cost is. I wouldn't disregard coming back to Barcelona for a month just because the accommodation was higher than what we're looking to spend. I would consider it regardless.
Yeah, you can make it work any way you want it to work.
7 days and a couple of sightseeing stops, and we learned more about Barcelona than we did on our first visit. We had bags to sort, laundry to do, and a ship to catch, and an answer to a question we didn't have when we arrived.
So we know what our next day really needs. We know what neighborhood to stay in. We know what our budget is going to be. And we know what the accommodation really requires. And that's going to be a good kitchen. But we also know that Barcelona is a place that we could stay long term. We just have to try it. Would you try Barcelona for a full month? And if so, what neighborhood would you choose? We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.